Now that the dust has settled after the Xenoblade Chronicles 3 Direct, and I finally secured my special edition, I feel the need to discuss all the big new details. For me, this was the Direct of the summer, and after watching it, I truly believe this newest Xenoblade entry has the potential to be one of the best RPGs on Switch, which is really high praise. Thanks for joining me today, because we need to talk about Xenoblade Chronicles 3. A lot of the early Direct was focused around the world of Aionios. In the game's initial reveal trailer, a lot of terms like Flamecloak and Oroboros were dropped, but we didn't really have all the details. Now, after the Xenoblade Chronicles 3 Direct, we have quite a bit more context. People of Aionios belong to one of two warring nations, Kevis or Agnes. We also learned something really interesting about these people. Residents of Kevis and Agnes only live for a maximum of 10 years. These really don't look like 10-year-olds though, so I don't know what kind of Ash Ketchum type stuff is going on here. Anyways, in this society, the highest honor is to faithfully serve your nation, and at the end of your 10th year, perish in a ceremony in front of the queen. But why? Why are these the rules of this society? All we know right now is that Kevis and Agnes are at war, and both fight each other because they want to fill up their own Flamecloak. But what do the Flamecloaks do? The purpose is not 100% clear. There are a lot of great analysis videos out there that attempt to explain the ways of Aionios more deeply, but that's not my purpose here today. It seems our heroes will be fighting to oppose this way of life, and I suspect a lot of the mystery will be unraveled along the way. Not only do we get a little more context on how this world works, but we also saw more of what it's going to look like. It's huge, varied, and full of life. Status quo for a Xenoblade game. I can't wait to fully set foot in this game to explore. I do have one big question though. In all of the marketing materials, Xenoblade 3 is being called an open world RPG. Seemingly this is confirmation directly from the horse's mouth that the game will indeed be open world. But I still have my suspicions. I've seen this term being used loosely in the past, and you could argue that every prior Xenoblade game has been open world as well. We've always been able to explore a bunch of wide open areas, ever since the first Xenoblade. I personally hesitate to call the games fully open world because the areas are segmented off, but depending on how you want to use the term, they could be seen this way. In the Direct, we got a look at the map screen and the fast travel system. And the screen itself here says area map. So if this really is a seamless open world, why do we have segmented area maps still? Why don't we just have one big map like in Breath of the Wild or something? This suggests to me that Xenoblade 3's world is going to be segmented open areas, just like any other Xenoblade game. But it's really too early to call anything definitively. For now, I'm going to trust what we've been told and expect a seamless open world, but I'm not fully confident. It will be interesting to see how the final game turns out, and honestly, I'm okay with it either way, true open world or not. We already had a pretty good idea about the Xenoblade 3 party members from previous trailers, but in the Direct, we got a deeper look at each individual member. We learned that 3 of the 6 hail from Kevis, and the other 3 hail from Agnes, keeping it an even split down the middle. Our protagonist Noah is a soldier from Kevis, alongside other party members Uni and Lance. On the other hand, Mio fights for Agnes, joined by Taion and Senna. Since each half of the party hails from different nations, we can expect some animosity between them at first, but they obviously unite toward a common goal during the game. I have to say I'm digging the Agnes party members a little bit over the Kevis one, but I can't wait to get to know them all better in just a few short weeks. I'm getting a real Xenoblade 1 feel with the return of the original style Affinity Chart. We see it here in the Direct with all these NPCs being mapped out in different nodes just like this. Just looking at this chart gives me nostalgia, and I'm curious to see if it works in the same way as the original Xenoblade Chronicles. Sure, the OG system was a bit grindy, but I really enjoyed building out areas with an old school Affinity Chart. I like how it gives you incentive to talk to more NPCs. It's a good world building tool. I'm curious to know how it will differ in Xenoblade 3, if at all, from the original system that inspired it. And speaking of old school ideas returning, everyone's favorite, gem crafting, is also returning in Xenoblade 3. As we can see here though, it now works a bit differently. It looks to be a more straightforward crafting system, giving you a standard recipe of items in order to make a gem, sort of like Ox Course. But as far as I can see, we don't know how the gems will be applied. I'm not sure if we'll be able to add them to certain equipment, or if its effects are applied to the entire party when equipped. When it comes to combat, the big confirmation from the Direct is that you can now switch control between your party members at any time. This is a huge deal, and I can't stress enough how amazing this sounds, because as you all know if you've played previous games, the AI party members can be some of the most frustrating parts of Xenoblade. This change will allow for more control over combo attacks, giving the player even more options, which looks to be a common theme for this new battle system. This is not all either, because the Direct gave us a look at a bunch more extended options. Each of the party members belongs to a different class, which means they are most effective serving certain roles. For example, Noah's sword fighter class is an attacker role, which makes him a strong damage dealer. Yuni is a medic gunner who can heal and buff allies from afar. Then, as we can probably tell just by looking at him, Lanza's heavy guard class is a damage tank who you'll probably want to have soaking up the aggro most of the time. For the most part, this is nothing new. Many of these character archetypes have been there since the series beginning, but as we dig down into the details, it gets a lot more interesting. As characters level up within their classes, they gain access to Master Arts, which are a whole different set of arts now mapped to the D-pad. In addition, we also learned about Fusion Arts, which essentially combine a character's regular arts and their fusion arts. This gives us an additional 4 fusion arts to use in addition to our regular arts and Master Arts. Like I said, more options. Heroes are kind of like this game's version of Blades. Basically, they act as one extra equipable party member. We got a good look at some of the new hero characters in this Direct, plus this questionable blurred out one. Take that as you will, I'm not even getting into it. The important thing to know about heroes is that each of them belongs to a unique class as well. Combine this with the fact that we can now change each of our party characters' classes to the class of another party member or another hero, and we have a huge amount of party customization options that look like an absolute blast to play around with. And then there's Oroboros, which looks like the final customization layer. Oroboros are this really cool new form 2 party members can take when they link up. Not only do they look amazing, they also provide a new set of Oroboros arts, so it's yet another layer of depth. There are 2 Oroboros forms per pair, each with different abilities, so the breadth of options here is really kinda mind-blowing. Oroboros kinda remind me of a more complex version of Showtimes from Persona 5. It makes me wonder if they'll be unlocked in a similar way, like when a certain party member affinity is reached or something. For the final little bit of extra goodies, we also got confirmation of an expansion pass of downloadable content similar to what we got with Xenoblade 2. It's mainly costumes and cosmetic stuff with a couple of challenges thrown in. And the big one is saved for last. Releasing at some point in 2023 is the new gameplay scenario, likely something similar to Torn of the Golden Country, which came with Xenoblade 2. Strap in everyone, cause it looks like we'll be playing this game for quite a while. Let's start a Xenoblade discussion down in the comments. What did you think of this Direct? Are you at all interested in Xenoblade Chronicles 3? I know it's not everyone's cup of tea, so let me know if you have any plans to pick up the game when it launches. As always, thanks everyone for tuning in, and remember to keep it here for more quality Nintendo content.